I love me some ice cream. And especially eating it late at night. Especially early on in my relationship with my wife, I would have ice cream all the time, and I would do it for the best time ever, which would be right before bed. And if you've ever had ice cream right before bed, while you're doing it, it is one of the greatest things in the world. But when you wake up the next morning, things change a little bit. You maybe don't feel as well. And this is a thing that with my wife, she would constantly tell me, like when I'd wake up and I'd be in pain or I would not feel that great, my eyes would be swollen or anything like that. I would say, oh my gosh, baby, I'm having a tough time getting up. And she would be like, well, no, there's no question to that, dummy. You shouldn't have ate ice cream right before you went to bed. And I'll be like, yeah, whatever. Okay. I'll never do that again. And then the next night or the next week, I'd be reaching for the ice cream and she would say, I'm telling you, but I wouldn't listen. And I would go right into it and I would think, no, right now, this feels good. It tastes good. I want ice cream. Stop bothering me, woman. I'm trying to control my life. And then I'd wake up the next morning and have that same feeling. It's amazing because as I was reading this morning, I was thinking about my wife and I was reading the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. That's what we're doing on Inchstones, little tiny things that we could add to our life. And I was thinking about my wife this morning in Proverbs 1 because there's so many times where she'll tell me something because I am in a specific amount of pain. She's never the one that tells me, you have to change this, you have to change that. She just listens. She's very wise. Brooklyn, I absolutely love you. You're way wiser than me. I should listen to you more often. But she'll wait for a little bit of a pain point that I'm complaining about, and then she'll ask me, well, what did you do to get into this pain? And I'm like, well, don't question me, woman. Just listen to my pain. And then she'll ask me, like, do you think that you should do that thing that caused pain? And I'll tell her, well, it felt good at the time. I'll never do it again. And then I find myself doing it over and over and over and over again. And it's incredible because in Proverbs 1, which is 3,000-year-old wisdom, God knew that we would be that type of person. We knew that the type of humans that we would be, we would do something, we would have pain in our life, and then we would complain about it. A friend would tell us something that can fix it. We would listen to it for a little bit, and then we would go back to doing the exact same thing that caused us the pain, or maybe it's just me, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but in Proverbs 1, what God was saying simply is, just listen up. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
I'm excited because the Vibe Room is coming July 23rd. It's a live version of the podcast. It's at the Edison House. And thank you to Mr. Patrick Packer, Justin Williams, and Kevin Borland, who are our alliance partners and helping us to be able to put on the Vibe Room, which is going to be incredible. Their companies are supporting that way, and it's just been awesome. We're actually going to have Mr. Roy Tuscany. Roy Tuscany is a man that he was an extreme athlete, had a spinal cord injury, kind of changed his life, and then he thought about it and he said, you know what I want to do is I want to adapt and destroy. I want to destroy every single limitation that people will put on me. I want to destroy those things. I want to destroy the myths that will tell you that you can only do this thing afterwards. And he created a foundation called High Fives Foundation that is helping people with spinal cord injuries to experience extreme things that they've never experienced in their entire life. He is an absolute phenomenal human being, hilarious hilarious as can be. And so that's July 23rd. There's actually only 10 tickets left. It's almost sold out. We haven't even released the tickets and it's almost sold out. So that's an incredible thing. We're excited about that and it's coming. So let's get to the real order of business today, which is Proverbs 1 is just listen up. Like if you're like me ever, you're a bonehead and you hear the right thing, but we say, well, maybe it wasn't time for me to apply it. My wife said it like this: people won't see what you do. They won't hear what you say. They'll only hear where they're at. Sit in that for a second. I was speaking at a conference years ago at Disneyland, and I came off stage and I asked the people, what'd you take away? And I was so distraught because so many people came up to me, probably 85, 90% of the people told me things that I didn't say from stage, and I thought that I had killed the keynote. I thought that I had done so well. There was a standing ovation, all these things. And people told me things that I didn't even say. And my wife looked at me, and I was kind of down, and we were walking into Disneyland because we were spending some time with our family afterwards. And she said, what's your problem? And I said, well, you see, I asked the people what they took away, and they told me things I didn't say. And she said, people won't hear what you say. They won't see what you do. They'll only hear where they are at. And imagine if we grasped that. Sometimes you're not ready to hear it. Sometimes I'm not ready to hear my wife's advice, although most of the time my wife's advice is absolutely what I need to hear at that particular time. And so in Proverbs 1, it was just the Inchstone was listen up. Like, it's amazing because 3,000 years ago, God gave us a blueprint that if we listened to it, we would avoid a lot of the challenges and pain that we have right now. Not to say that our life is going to be perfect. No one's life is perfect. But there's a lot of things that we wouldn't be going through right now, or those things that we would be going through would be a lot more bearable if we would just listen. And watch this. The question that he asked right off the bat was, do you want wisdom, instruction, understanding, prudence, to do right, to be just and fair? Do you want knowledge? Do you want discretion? Do you want the ability to listen? Do you want the ability to understand riddles, parables, and proverbs? That's in verse 1 through 7 in Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1. So looking at this corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, if you were to ask someone, do you want wisdom, instruction, understanding, prudence, which is the thought of the future, the ability to do right, to be just and fair, to have knowledge, to have discernment, to have discretion, to have the ability to listen and understand riddles, parables, and proverbs throughout life, the answer for every single person out there would be like, yep, I want that. And then in verse 8 and 9, he just said, well, then listen to your parents. Well, some people would say, like, well, what if I didn't have great parents? What if they weren't there for me? Then what God is saying is become those great parents. I'll be your parent. I'll be your dad. I had a guy ask me on a podcast one time. It kind of dumbfounded me a little bit. But both my parents passed away. My dad passed away 2.5 years ago. My mom almost 6 years ago. And when he asked me, he said, both your parents are gone. So how does it feel to be an orphan? And I was like, what? I'm not an orphan. I'm a child of God. And so imagine this. Listen to your parents. Who are your parents? Like, if your parents were that example, or they were the example of what not to do. Some of us have those parents. And I had parents early on that, there were some things that I watched and I was like, wow, if I don't do exactly that, then everything will be okay. And so listen to our parents. And what God said is like, just bind it in your head, like listen to it, but also fill up your heart with it. And then guard your heart. And your words are an overflow of your heart. And your words speak things into existence. So be careful on what you allow into your heart. And that's in verse 8 and 9. And then he let me know that boneheads are coming. Boneheads are coming in your life. And he just said, don't follow boneheads and you'll be okay. And imagine that. Imagine that little bit of advice from us as parents or as brothers, sisters, friends. Don't be a bonehead. And don't follow boneheads, and you'll be okay. Imagine if it could just be that simple. In verse 10 through 19, it actually talks about it. 3,000 years ago. It's crazy because he knew that there was going to be boneheaded friends, and you guys all know them. We all have them that hang out and they want to do stupid stuff. I was that friend to my friend Will because I would want to do stupid stuff, and he'd be like, you know what? I don't really want to do that. In verse 10 through 19, it talks about that, and it talks about that they'll be slick. So test them. Test the people. Test them as you go, right? So imagine this. Imagine if you just didn't follow boneheads and you will be okay. And he told you that they're going to be slick. They're going to have things that they want to say to you that are going to be enticing. Just don't follow them. And then he said, I can't believe I'm even reading this because it's so simple. If you do, it won't be good. So don't follow boneheads, and if you do follow them, it won't be good. And that's in verse 20 through 32. He took that many verses to just say, like, number one, set up the boneheads and explain them to you, tell you what the boneheads were going to do. And then he brought it back to the fact that if you go and do it, it won't be good. And then at the end, he gave us a get-out-of-jail-free card in verse 33, and he said, here's your get-out-of-jail-free card. Just simply listen to me. I want to read this to you because it's that simple, but whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm. And that's personally, professionally, spiritually, or financially. In verse 33, it just was very simple. So what I took from this this morning was listen to him. He sent your parents. The world will send boneheads. He will send wisdom. And if you don't listen to the distractions, you will be safe. Imagine that. Listen to him. He'll send your parents to you to listen. And if not, then he'll be your parent for you. The world will send boneheads to try and distract you. But if you listen to them, then you'll get distracted and it won't be good. But hey, again, just listen to me and everything will be okay. So watch this. Listen up. Here are the benefits. Boneheads are coming. Things will be bad if you don't listen. So just listen and everything will be cool. Mind-blowing because it's so very simple, although it's not easy. Corresponding proverb, corresponding day. And what I would invite every one of you to do is take out your word. Like I went through as far as the verses, take out your word. Just read it. Just read the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. That is it. It's 33 verses. It'll take you 3 minutes to do it. 3 to 4 minutes, and then set it down. Think of one verse. Just pick out one verse in the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day and write out why it hit your heart, what it made you think about, and what action you could add to it. Just do that one little thing, that little tiny inchstone. It has been my honor and my pleasure to hang out with you today. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. But before I go, make sure that you check out the Vibe Room, which is coming July 23rd, a live version of the podcast. It's going to be incredible. We got a musical artist that is coming. We've got interviews that are happening, and the networking inside the room is unbelievable. Like I said, my name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat now. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised.